Welcome back to the Schooner Pod. It's been a moment. And look, we'll get into the show here in a bit. We got a great one. We got Ty, we got Blake. I'm really looking forward to talking about a lot of what we've missed with college football and everything. But, I just kind of want to explain, a bit of the absence a little bit here. And, look, this podcast for years has been, a labor of love. And it's just been it's been incredible to work on. It's been so fun, but even the most fun things can get a little, I don't know. I don't want to call it exhausting, but sometimes you get burnt out. And with the way college football is and the changes and the amount of things you just strip from the sport constantly, it's easy to get burnt out on even following it, let alone podcasting about it. And I think that I had kind of reached a point where talking about talking about the sport in the off season had gotten to the point where it was redundant and maybe not as fun. And when you lose stuff like the spring game, which the last time I think I was on the podcast, I was talking, oh, they're not going to get rid of the spring game this year, and then lo and behold, they nix it. It can be kind of disheartening at times, and ultimately at the end of the day, this show's about fun. It's about having fun with your friends. For me, we get no money for this is a labor of love, and the topics at the time in the off season were not fun for me. And it just seemed to me like the best thing to do at that time was to take a break, focus on some other stuff, and I frankly locked in on a new venture called Morning Thunder. It's been a blast. You should check it out. NBA Finals start this week, and it's been incredible. But I've been keeping this Schooner Pod waiting, ready to go. And look, come fall, come later this summer, we're going to be right back in that rhythm, talking about, the games every week, previewing everything. Just needed a break. But anyways, y'all didn't tune in to listen to me yap. Y'all listened to, hear three folks yap about college football. We're here to catch you up. After this, probably going to be a little bit of a break as we finish out the NBA season. But after that, we'll be right back into the rhythm. Thank you all for sticking with us through all of it, keeping that subscription on, waiting with us. But I'm just ready to dive in. Let's get this thing going. Welcome back to Schooner Pod. Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Ty Lee, and we've got the captain sailing on in, Boat and Blake. Fellas, good to see you boys again. Ty, been a minute. How have you been, buddy?
I've been good. Unlike Bobby, I love off-season podcasting. I have never been burnt out on college football. I love the Schooner Pod. This podcast makes us $15 million each a year after taxes, which we don't pay. So I'm not really sure what Bobby was saying there, but very excited to be back and very excited to talk some college football. We were going over what we're going to talk about, all the transfer portal drama, all the playoff drama, everything else that has been happening this offseason that we have not had a chance to talk about. I'm very, very excited to get a little college football injection right here before, like Bobby said, we jump into the NBA Finals with the OKC Thunder.
Well said. The money hasn't hit my account. If it is 15 million per year, but Blake, good to see you. How have you been? How's your summer been?
Doing good, doing good. I'm gonna middleman kind of y'all's speech with Bobby kind of being a little bit worn down on some of the college football talk, Ty being very high. I do find it, I still love it because this is my favorite sport. It's one thing that just will never change, no matter even when, like, the Thunder are doing well and stuff like that. It's like, I love the Thunder, but I don't love the NBA as much. It's like, I love the general sport of college football, I feel like, more than any other sport on this world. But it can be exhausting at times. It seems like kind of what happened to the NBA a few years ago is kind of starting to happen to college football, where there's more storylines off the field than actually on the field and the on-field product, and that seems to capture most people's attention. And so I've kind of reached the point where it's like it's inevitable, like we're gonna have to talk about these things. Some parts of it are exciting, some parts aren't, but I'm just kind of ready to get where this is going. Like I'm ready to get to the finale of, okay, this is what college football is going to look like for the next 20, 40 years. Like this is going to be the new normal, just so I can come to peace with that, because I still feel like we are in that transition period today where we're almost there, but we still have some key issues to really resolve.
Yeah, and I think that's at the core of this specific episode, even though it's titled Schooner Pod, all of that. This is going to mostly be about college football as a whole, because I think that's the biggest thing. This sport just keeps changing. You finally expand the playoff to 12, and it doesn't even last a year. You immediately tweak the system, and I think, to me, I'm at the point where I'm just exhausted. Just rip the Band-Aid off and go with whatever you're going to go with.
Yep. You said it perfectly. It's like, how did we get to the point where this year we're having to re-vote on how to seed the tournament? Like, it did. The seeding that they chose this year just made the most sense. It's the least confusing. Like, I know they probably wanted to give some advantages to the conference champions, which I get, because, like, that is, like, I think there is a crisis right now of how do you deal with the conference championships and their importance in an era where a lot of the conferences, the matchups, those teams are going to be playing in a few weeks in the college football playoff. Like, how do you reconcile those two things? But it was just so confusing from a consumer perspective that if you are a casual of college football and you're watching that Tuesday ranking show, you see the 1 through 12 and then they immediately throw up a bracket and it's completely different than just like how you would think in your mind of how 12 teams would be seeded. Like that was just not going to last. So it's good change. It's a good change. It's a reasonable change because that's how it should have been. But just kind of an embarrassing black eye that it's like after a year you couldn't even come out with like the correct. Like this seems to be a common theme is the structure kind of feels like it failed year one.
Yeah, I agree, although it almost feels to me like just the decline of maybe certain conferences' powers. And I'm not trying to get into that whole, power 1, 2, whatever it is thing tonight on the pod with my SEC shirt on. But it almost felt like the committee was just had a ton of influence from conferences that they maybe felt like wouldn't always have influence. So it was like okay, like we'll play along and basically set you up to fail kind of thing. Maybe I'm giving the committee too much credit, but it certainly is confusing when you're trying to draw in, I feel like, the more casual fan base, and then every year it's just something completely different. You don't really look like you know what you're doing, and it's very challenging to get people to understand why people are seated the way they are.
And I think you also got to say the worst case scenario happened pretty much year one. Because I think when we looked at that system, you're like, well, there's a hypothetical situation where, everything hits the fan and one of the Power Five champions is actually not that good. And then you have to, like, maybe hop in a team from, a group of five. And then there's another one that's not good. And you just have this total mess and it just looks really ugly. But that wouldn't happen, right? And immediately you just get the weirdest top four. All four, where you have all four high seed teams completely just get bounced immediately the second they play. And I think, to me, it was really unfortunate how it played out, but it does highlight the need for change. I personally liked the system because it gave conference championships a lot more heft, a lot more meaning. I mean, the Big 12 literally was for a playoff spot. With Iowa State and Arizona State. I thought that was intriguing. But, and then, Texas could have gotten a bye. I think there were intriguing things to that. But ultimately, when you have a playoff system where an 8 seed or a low seed Ohio State can just run the table like they did, it kind of, or Penn State as well, it just really kind of defeats the purpose of the entire system was kind of flawed from the get-go. So I understand it. I think you lose a lot of that steam with the college, with the championship games, but I don't really know.
Yeah. I do kind of like the idea that TV ratings should play into it because throwing Colorado in there would have been interesting.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Put the TV ratings into it. That's hilarious.
Someone pitched? I think it was Greg Sankey of the SEC. I think
Yeah.
this
There
SEC was. Am I wrong here, Blake, or was that a
no, like
was that
there's
like a
definitely
troll
been,
post?
that's definitely been a consideration. Like I think it was like Heather, what's it, Dinich, whoever does all
Yeah.
the whoever does all the college football playoff stuff. Like she like put out an article with like some of the considerations that they were thinking, and that was definitely one of them. Like I think if you're a casual NBA fan online, that seems great because that's all they seem to want to talk about is ratings these days. Like everybody is somehow an amateur like media mogul exec that really cares about the ratings that it pulls. Just enjoy the product on the field. It doesn't matter what number they pull at
It's
the end of the day. We're not even near a media rights deal either for any of these things that is like so major that we really like it could kill the sport off. It's so stupid.
you know what
But
this
No,
is, Blake? This
no,
is
like
just proof. You can go, Bobby.
I'm so sorry. I was just saying, like for example, the NBA literally just signed an enormous deal. College
Yep.
football signed an enormous deal. Like everyone's settled, everyone's making money. Like, why are we freaking out about ratings? It's
it was like
ridiculous.
I swear it was like a Clay Travis thing, like back in the day when he was getting up all into the NBA about ratings and stuff like that, and then everybody now just sees it as like the benchmark to like how good a sporting event is when like it. I don't care. Like I was like I've seen G5 games that probably like doesn't even register on the rating scale. That's significantly better than any of these SEC games that are just like complete blowouts. Like that's what makes the sport beautiful is judge with your own eyes whether the product is good, whether you like what's on the field. Don't let the Nielsen numbers 2 days later in some like awful announcing article determine your perception of like what you like about the sport.
See, Blake, this is just proof that these hundreds, thousands of accounts that you interact with online are all just bot accounts run by ESPN to waste your time and to boost their narrative that sports are just about eyeballs on advertising.
And they don't do anything about it. I haven't seen an ESPN personality come out with a nuanced take about that. Like they just feed into it. Like you
Of
see the
course,
coverage
because
across all
bot,
sports.
they have their
Yep.
bot army whining about ratings with their little Kobe Lakers profile picture.
It's ridiculous. Like that is, I will say that is one of the worst parts about the new age is just how much control ESPN has over this damn thing. Like how much they have all the control.
Here we go. Already onto the ESPN conversation. But I will say the people who are like, I need Nielsen to tell me whether or not a thing is good is like, that's the ultimate sheep move. You know, that's like, come on, enjoy it or don't enjoy it. But look, so we've talked about how the sport has changed in the interim. Let's talk about how apparently it's going to change. So clearly 12 is not enough. I guess we're moving to 16 or 14. Guys, why are we doing this to ourselves? This is absurd.
I don't want to be like, oh, told you so, but everyone in the world had this take. When we moved from 4 to 12, the argument was we're going to move from 4 to 12 so that we don't have that one team that's left out, which is just doesn't make sense. We talked about this at the time. There's always going to be the one team on the bubble or two or whatever that get left out. That's just, you can adjust the cutoff all you want. There's still going to be someone cut off, and someone's going to be. Basketball has a 64 team tournament, and they had to create a whole second tournament of, is it 32 or is it 64 for the NIT? I don't know.
32.
Okay, well, exactly. They had to create a whole another tournament for 32 other teams that people were like, oh, maybe they could have made it.
And they're thinking
Like,
about expanding. They're
yes.
expanding
The same
that
thing's
tournament
gonna happen in
too.
college football. We're going to be on this podcast in 2045. We're going to have a 100-team tournament, and they're going to be arguing that, you know, some random school got left out because it's
Wake
there's
Forest got
always gonna be
screwed.
the Alabama story. Yeah, there's always, because there have been cases in the past, right, where people got screwed by their conference or whatever else. I'm talking to a TCU and Baylor fan here when I say this. Like, he knows better than anyone, but it's like that's just always going to happen. It's just we're printing playoff spots basically. We have playoff inflation, and we're printing more playoff spots to try to get our way out of it. It's not going to work.
Well,
we need to put a tariff on the lower conferences.
Well, and I think to me, like, nothing signified it more than the amount of belly aching and moaning and crying that we had going on at the SEC, summer meetings where, you know, all the Alabama folks were upset about getting left out. All like the teams that got left out of that playoff made sense. They didn't have a real candle, a real argument. And to me, I think, say what you will about the schedule, say what you will about, what you did on the field. Every single one of those teams had a loss you can point to and be like, yeah, no, this is ridiculous. And that's, I think we've lost the plot with that entirely. And I think it's a damn shame that in some senses we're kowtowing to expanding it. So teams with, 4 losses, several which bad, are going to get in because they have good wins. And I think to me, that's just ridiculous.
Yep, and that's like exactly what it was. Like, I think coming into this whole thing, I think the SEC and Big Ten, when they said, okay, we put it at 12, I think they assumed probably each of them are going to get in about 4 each, if not some years even get more. And then when that doesn't happen the first year, like, that's the quickest way to change. It's like the SEC wanted the illusion that like this was fair because you are going to have a system where it's chosen by committee, but the committee's probably going to choose at least 4 SEC teams. That did not happen. And like, granted, like, good for them, like the committee actually did something well. It's like the fact that we're still going into the SEC media days and this Alabama part is still a storyline. No, they lost to Vandy. They lost to a bad Oklahoma team. Like, got killed by them. I hate these it's the ultimate. It's Justin Herbert in the NFL. It's Alabama in college football. It's the big if. They love to use if. They love to use the hypothetical in order to posture themselves and position themselves like they said their schedule's harder. I get that. You didn't lose to the hard games on your schedule. You lost to the ones that you were supposed to kill them. Like, that's why you don't deserve to be there. But that is the quickest way to get a format changed, is when the 2 big power players are expecting something, even though it's not in writing, that they were probably going to get this many amount of teams. That when you have the ACC coming in stealing a bid with SMU, especially a smaller brand, one that's not traditional, like, they were immediately going to change that to either 1, expand it, or 2, you're going to want more guarantees when it comes to the amount of teams that are going to be in these playoffs.
Yeah, I think we also have to say the Big Ten in a lot of this, because the big conversation now is a split between, what this new 16-team college football playoff will look like. The debates between the five champion plus 11 automatic qualifiers, that model, which your Mark and the SEC are in favor of, or what the Big Ten wants, which would be 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten and SEC, and then figure out the rest. I think the automatic qualifiers is an absolute joke to me. Like that is one of the having a number of automatic qualifiers that don't involve winning a championship it's insulting to the sport, and it makes it an invitational, and that ticks me off.
This is good then. I am all for the automatic qualifier system. I'm all for a 14-team playoff where you have 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the SEC, 2 Big 12, 2 ACC, a G5, and 1 at-large bid. I wish I could find something else to do with that at-large bid, but I really don't want the committee choosing anything anymore. I think the only power they should be given is seeding, that you could determine kind of where the chairs line up, but I'm tired of them picking teams. I'm tired of the criteria changing year to year. I'm tired of each week we go into starting in kind of like late October, November. It feels like the storylines are not about the games that are happening next week. It's what's happening on an ESPN studio show that's happening on Tuesday, and the changing criteria year to year. I'm just kind of sick of these NCAA committees. They're filled with a whole bunch of ADs that have their their interest aligned to their own schools. Like, we saw it in the basketball tournament when UNC is the final team in, and their AD is the chairman of the actual selection committee. Like, I don't trust these things anymore, and I understand Bobby's point. Like, you don't want them to be invitationals. You want them to be the teams that earn it the most, but that's not what has happened with this committee thing. this committee thing, they got basically forced into the corner to do the right thing last year with this SMU predicament. But most years it has shown that they have certain biases, but then will change the biases the moment it doesn't align with one of the big brands not making it. So I am kind of all for just making it invitational. I know that goes counter to what Brett Yormark and the Big 12 wants. They want just kind of 15 and or 5 and 11 and just have it be like a free-for-all for all those at-large bids. I don't want to put it up to the committee to put in extra teams. They're not going to put in extra Big 12 teams. They're not going to put in extra ACC teams. So I don't want that. I want guaranteed 2 spots right there, Big 12. I'll take that.
I think Blake might be onto something. Instead of having a dishonest system, we just let people know from the start that it's dishonest, and therefore it, in a way, becomes an honest system. We just tell you, it doesn't matter what you do, bro. You're just not, or it's 4 SEC teams.
Yeah, at least the rules are, just straight up, crooked from the start. And I think to me, it's the Big Ten aspect of it. I think 4 Big Ten teams feels absurd. I don't know what that conference, yeah, the top of the top is great. I totally get that.
But I think that's why is the top of the top is probably better, I would say, than the SEC's top of the top right now. The SEC's way deeper. Way, way, way deeper. Like, if you take probably the top 4, the Big Ten wins. If you take 5 through whatever you have left, the SEC rolls them. Like, absolutely rolls them. But I think that's the consideration with the Big Ten, is they have a few amount of elite teams that will always probably make it, and those teams will always be there. But I do get that it kind of sucks that it feels like they have an inferior conference like week to week, but are still getting the same amount of spots.
Right, because I feel like the worst SEC team last year, which was Kentucky,
Mississippi State,
Mississippi State, yeah,
bad.
Mississippi State,
no, Mississippi State
yeah,
bad,
yeah,
but
Mississippi
Purdue Purdue was also way bad in the Big Ten, so it's not like.
But I feel like Mississippi State would have beat Purdue. I don't think it would have been great, but it's a really low bar. I understand.
I do think it's so interesting because it's all the different conferences then have their sort of micro politics at play. And I will say one thing, obviously, SEC bias a bit, although I'm not a big conference guy in spite of my shirt I'm currently wearing, which is pure coincidence. But if I look at the Big Ten saying we want 4 teams in, that just sounds very corrupt to me because, like Blake said, with the top heaviness, that's just Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State auto bid to the playoff every single year, and then
Oregon.
one Big Ten at large. Oh yeah, I forgot about Oregon and USC.
Your Duckies.
Yeah, that's just so weird. But if you tell me 4 SEC teams auto bid every year, that's not actually something that I can say 3 years from now. Like 3 years from now, 100% will be Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. That's unjinxable. They're just so top heavy. No one is going to top it, and they organize their schedule to facilitate that. They won't play those teams against each other too much to break that up. Versus the SEC, I think you do have that depth of competition at least, where I don't think you could say with confidence more than 2 of the teams out of the SEC that will be in the playoff if there's 4 auto bids 3 years from now.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I feel like that's, like you said, that's kind of ultimately the problem. There's not this chaos is a ladder situation in the Big Ten. It's just the same teams over and over again. That does just kind of suck. And it shows everything that's wrong with that conference. But look, let's talk about something else here. So whenever you want to talk about things in college football that are changing and frustrating, one is realignment, the playoff, all that shifting. The 2 is always inevitably the transfer portal, which I feel like has hit a crescendo this offseason. Nico Imaliava, at Tennessee, that was one of the most shocking sagas ever. And it feels like it was 10 years ago, but I still can't believe he left that way. And I feel like, to me, that's in Tennessee guys, if y'all are out there for some reason, I can't say I feel for you entirely. I feel for you a little bit because that sucks. But My God, the system is broken and needs to be fixed in some way. I'm all for player empowerment, but that's ridiculous. That was one of the most ridiculous, ludicrous transfers I've ever seen.
It's one that still makes no sense to me. It's a right now the college football has the perfect system to absolutely just bend teams over the barrel and get you a pay raise. Like it could be automatic for some of these teams that have one of the elite quarterbacks in the country. If you say you're going to transfer, that team's probably going to find a way to pony up the money. But you do that in the winter when all you have every option at your disposal where teams are desperate for quarterbacks. They are looking for somebody, not in the spring where they've already taken their options. They've already gone through spring camp. They've done maybe a spring game, seen their options, and are probably like, I'm good. How do you fumble it that bad? It's like Carson Beck went from just kind of a very lackluster career at Georgia and showed up in some big moments, but I wouldn't say the best, and got like 7 or 8 million from Miami just because he's a pretty decent quarterback that you know is going to like not totally screw up your team. Like he's gonna be decent. He's not a game changer per se, but like he was able to get 7, 8 million. And I'm not saying Nico would go for that much, but he definitely would have been the most hyped, one of the more hyped names on the market. He probably could have gotten closer to like what was it, his $3, $4 million ask that he was looking for. And instead, you end up at UCLA, like a team that needed a quarterback for substantially less money with taxes. Like you haven't put yourself in a better developmental scenario either. It's not like you've gone to some elite coach that's going to help you get that NFL bag. You're really prioritizing that. He tried to prioritize the quick paycheck, and I think not only hurt his wallet in the end, but really probably hurt his ability to go pro. Like he will go pro because he's just like he has those freak intangibles, and like the NFL always loves that regardless of college performance. But as we've seen, like those freaks have gone in the NFL lately, but if you haven't developed properly in college, it doesn't seem to be panning out at the next stage. So I think he just kind of screwed himself in all facets, and I think will be a lesson that a lot of these kids will use as like what not to do when you're trying to get more money via the portal.
Yeah, you can't already be in the like very top of college football NIL compensation at a massive NIL market and expect to get 2 to 3 times more per year. Like that was just not gonna, because you look at some of these NIL deals that are signed and from what's made public, the bits that are coming from the schools. Obviously, there's different markets, right? Like you can go to a Miami and there's a private jet charter company or some sort of yacht charter company that'll sign you to something that you just don't have that in Tennessee. Not trying to denigrate Tennessee. There's just not someone's gonna be like, oh, you can rent airplanes at my local airport. Okay, but you know what I'm saying. But it's like you can't like some of these NIL deals are like 1 year things. Like a guy comes and gets 4 million. Like Nico was a freshman and was on a $2 million a year deal. Like that's just not going to jump to 4 a year without a ring or an SEC championship. I just don't see how that math works out. So bad advisors. I know we got a lot of recruits. We got a lot of 5-star recruits that listen to this podcast. You got to make sure you got good people around you that are giving you good advice. It's not always your parents who just want you to make 2 to 3 times as much as you currently make because they saw like a BuzzFeed article that said that Tennessee athletics makes $1 billion a year or something, and they think you're being robbed. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I think at this point, we're going to get so many underdeveloped, like superstar, quote unquote, college quarterbacks that in 3 or 4 years, like the NFL is going to step in some way.
No, it
some sort of power on college football, or they're just going to start up a camp system or something where all the top high school recruits spend like 3-4 years going to school, but they don't actually play. They just like have an NFL minor league or something like that.
Yeah, because we've started to see it. It's like we've seen I feel like more bust on these top end quarterbacks that are coming out and really not seeing them hit their potential just because they're jumping around so much. Nobody seems to really like, and I get the gripes when people have these, like nobody seems to want to sit, learn, develop, and I'm hoping like the key here is like you have to see the success stories of sitting and developing, like not
Arch Manning.
like Arch, yeah, which will suck for as an OU
We'll
fan,
see.
and you don't want to happen, but
We'll
or,
see.
or but like if he succeeds, like he's gonna show the blueprint of like what you should be doing is still
Yes.
doing the same things that
Should be
people are
born
doing.
into the Manning family.
Yeah, well, yeah, because he can
the
he can
genes.
afford
Yeah,
to
like,
sit.
he can afford to sit, but it's just it's insane how many of these college quarterbacks are trying to rush their development, stuff like that, just for an easy paycheck. And like that is good money, but like if you want the really life changing stuff, you got to make it to the NFL, and you got to find programs that can help you do that. And it just seems like kids aren't doing that anymore.
Yeah, and it's just a mess. And at the end of the day, you just need to give them contracts. You need to call them. You need to call them
Yep.
professionals. You need to call it what it is. You need to make them enforceable. They need to be treated like adults, and being an adult means that you have to have the ability to negotiate, and the party you're dealing with should be protected from stuff like this. It needs to be mutual, and the system it is now, it just isn't that. And yeah, it needs to be fixed. But I don't know. This has kind of been 30 minutes of an old man yelling at cloud here. I turned 30 and just immediately wanted to just complain about the state of the world, I guess.
Kids these days.
I know.
These days don't want to stick to anything.
They don't have no gumption.
They don't have no loyalty. They don't want to work for no.
It's like, but I do agree with Bobby. It's like if you want to get the upside of like multi-million dollars coming your way at the age of 18, do it the way in which it's intended. Of you got to take risks yourself. You got to sign the contract. You got to either commit to a program for 1 year, give yourself some flexibility in the next, or commit yourself to like 3 years per se and get some more money, but like you can't transfer as much. Like you have to be able to make those decisions like every other professional athlete does when they sign their contracts, when they're trying to figure out like their calculus of what matters to them. Is it the flexibility in the future, or is it the paycheck now? We need that in this system. Like right now it's not it just doesn't, the system doesn't make any sense. Like it just doesn't make any sense that you're basically renegotiating every single year with your entire roster, and there's no commitment from there's no downside to the player of doing it.
It's completely untenable.
There were two massive changes to the sport, that fundamentally changed the structure of college football, that both occurred basically simultaneously, but also independent of each other with no, the transfer portal makes sense only in the vacuum of what college football was pre NIL. I think the current transfer portal with pre NIL college football is not that big of a problem. There was always going to be controversy with it. There's always going to be someone, bag manning someone behind closed doors or whatever. But I just can't see how it is, because you wouldn't have those guys just trying to transfer randomly to make money or whatever else, or you wouldn't have guys going to places just for the money with the intent to bag it and then dash.
It'd be more for opportunity, which is what it should
and then
be.
The NIL thing
right.
is just a band-aid solution that doesn't really make sense, but they just had to do. Their hand was forced. So
it's NIL is like these sweepstakes sports books that are legal in Texas that I use. It's legal. It's legal, but it's using a law that was not intended.
You're not betting on the player. You're betting on fantasy points on the player.
Yeah, it wasn't, the sweepstakes laws were not intended to create these pseudo sports books, but that's what NIL turned into. It turned into It should have been, you can be in a commercial for your local car dealer. They can pay you. That's totally fine. You can have your Instagram ad deals, but it wasn't meant to be
your jersey sales.
Yeah, it's not meant to be oh, my collective will pay you millions of dollars. Just show up to this one charity event, this one time, and you're good. That's what it turned into.
Well, and it's a lot to ask of this arms race is a lot to ask of the alumni, the supporters, the donors. Charles Barkley had a point where he's like, I'm not gonna go broke because I want Auburn football to win, and he's shelling out all this cash. It's untenable. It makes no sense, and we just can't keep doing it.
And not to be the in this economy type of guy, but it is true, like, ticket prices seem to be raising across the board. Schools are wanting more donations for whenever you do season ticket packages. Like, your foot in the door to even watch the sport in the first place is already a good chunk of change. Like, I go to a school that's smaller and cheaper, and like still still raise ticket prices and stuff like that. And we're not even talking about the big institutions. It just seems unfair that it's the fans always having to pony up the money whenever these TV contracts have never been bigger, these schools endowments have never been bigger. Like, these schools are raking in money, the athletic department's getting way rich. Like, that's like they're getting way rich, but like the fans don't see that. Like, the facilities are already so nice that like you don't even need to put money towards that as much anymore. Like, it's at some point it's just like we're just sitting on piles of cash when it should just be distributed to the players, like how it always should have been, that like they're the ones bringing in the money.
Right, and I think the reason why you're seeing these changes is because they are making a lot of money, but if they distribute, which revenue sharing is coming, when they do that, they're going to not be making as much money. And they want to make as much money as before, so they're going to do everything they can to just keep upping the ante. Field boxes at Ohio Stadium. Let's move the band out of the way and put a bunch of rich dudes on the floor. Which, by the way, worst seats in the house. Those field boxes, horrible. Those are.
Who buys those? It's like, I see them at the Cowboys
Idiots.
game too. It's like, who wants to be staring at the calves of like the players on the sidelines? Like, I don't get it. Like, I could understand maybe at like a baseball game, if you want behind home plate, you're down there, you can kind of see the whole thing. That makes sense, but football's such a people-intensive sport that it's just a lot of people standing around on the sidelines. Like, how do you see? Like, what? I don't get the appeal of these. Like, I just don't.
Putting a box behind home plate would cause an actual revolution by baseball fans. I think that would just be they would see that as too much corporate greed. Could you?
They've done them.
No, they've done it. Yeah.
Imagine if the Yankees put a box right behind home plate.
I imagine the Steinbrenners are trying to do that actively at this very moment. But like the Texas Rangers, they have they have boxes.
Yep, they like literally behind home plate is just boxes. Like, there's no wall first. It's
you just
like
see
no
some dude with
wall.
a Miller Lite.
Yep.
It's wild.
That's So I had a question from earlier actually that I think one of you might be able to answer, or at least opine on. But why is it that college football or like the Big Ten and SEC can't just declare that their football programs aren't beholden to the NCAA? Like what actually makes that? Because at this point, like, what's the purpose, right? Like, are these conferences not able to go out, or like a conference itself, not even a bilateral agreement or trilateral agreement or whatever, but can a conference itself not go out and just form its own governing body that it pays for with its contributions, and they build their refs and they build their keep the same rule book or whatever? They have like a an agency that makes sure that everything is fair and people aren't using a doping agency and a like a compliance wing and everything else. Like, what is preventing these schools from just doing that? Like certainly there's a corporate structure you can create that says like, oh yeah, we have a football team, it's our club team, and then this is not like, this is just a team that we sponsor, and then they also just happen to be students here. Like,
no, it 1000% can happen. And like, really, like, the two main considerations probably why, or it kind of has in college football a little bit, in the sense, like, not fully what you're talking about, but it's like the NCAA has less influence because they've given the power over the postseason structure to the college football playoff. That's like not an NCAA event that like they work on. It's like that has been given over to like the playoff committee. But I think the main barrier right now to that tie is, what do you do about the other revenue sports and non-revenue sports? Like, if you break away from the NCAA, but that's the thing. It's like, if you break away from the NCAA, you are breaking away from all the sports. Like, you're not going to break away just from one. And so the problem is maybe not necessarily what you do with your Olympic sports, but it's like a significant line item still for a lot of these schools is the NCAA tournament for basketball, and like both men's and women's, maybe a little bit of baseball and softball here and there, depending on the school. But that's the problem is like how you do the other sports. Like I think college football is the easiest one to break away. Like I think we are going to see something probably similar to what you're saying, Ty. Like it's going to be when
they
it
have all
comes.
the power though.
They do. They do. Like they have.
Who watches the NCAA tournament if it doesn't have like the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 in it? Like, is that interesting basketball to watch if those three conferences have a little trilateral agreement where they have another tournament that they play in? And oh, by the way, because they're not beholden to the NCAA, they're just paying players as on contracts and stuff, so they have all the best players too. Like,
But I just don't think they see the upside of that yet because like the checks are still coming in through the NCAA. They're taking on a lot of the brunt when it comes to the legal challenges. Like granted that eventually comes to the schools to eventually pay like with this house settlement stuff, but the checks are still cashing and they are still organizing it, and I think schools are still a little bit wary that it's like who do we take with us if we're going to jump ship. Like I think if the SEC and Big Ten probably had it their ways, like they want less mouths to feed, more money for these schools. But how at what point if you leave out a Big 12 like for basketball, like you could like see that's the problem. It's like they would clearly like love to not have to deal with like a Big 12 when it comes to football because like you're not probably producing a national championship challenger out of there on a consistent basis. You might have something like fluky, but I wouldn't expect somebody to become like an absolute superpower like an Alabama, Ohio State, something like that in the conference. But they do provide enough value that it's like if you kick out just wholesale conferences that still bring eyeballs, then like people won't probably want to come watch your product. Like if they did a basketball tournament without the Big 12, like I probably wouldn't care as much. Like I would watch a few games here and there, but it could hurt your bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where that question, the most cynical part of me, and maybe, and it grows by the day. The most cynical part of me thinks that that's the eventual solution to all of this is that the SEC and Big Ten are going to break with a model and do their own thing and create a mini NFL, and it's going to be horrible. And I hope it doesn't happen. The fact that it hasn't happened yet is the only thing that really gives me hope because the way everything is trended in such a speedy, quick de-evolution has been very discouraging. And it feels like we're barreling towards that as the end game. I would hate it. It can't happen. And I think to some extent, the Big Ten and SEC want to do what they can to avoid that eventually happening, but with an arms race at some point, it's going to go nuclear. And the question is, do the Big Ten and SEC care enough about the rest of the sport, like to keep it alive, or do they just care about themselves? And unfortunately, I kind of feel like it's going to end up being the latter.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna end up being because like Greg Sankey's even gone on record like he loves the book The Club, like he loves the idea of how the Premier League kind of took this like kind of what we see in college football of all these regional different conferences, leagues, other things, and kind of created a product where the best teams are playing. The problem is like American greed also comes into it, and we don't have things like relegation and promotion to like actually cycle through some of these teams, give some like teams a shot. Like if they do want to play with the big boys, like there is opportunities to get there. That's what I'm worried about is like I just think whatever form this ends up being, it's going to be a Premier League with no promotion or relegation. Rather, it's going to be a just league that is cementing media rights deals and big paychecks for these schools that they can continue to cash year in and year out, guaranteed revenue that they can count on, and just like hope that they didn't kill enough of the sport that those checks are still very big.
Yeah. And they probably will be. Like,
yeah, people, like
Americans love football. Americans love college football. And look, as sad as it would be to remove Baylor and, I don't know, sorry, NC State, Baylor's a bad example. Those type of teams from the main conversation in college football, there are going to be a lot more people who would rather want to see Ohio State and Alabama every other year, in a regular season matchup. And that's the sad truth of it. It's just those numbers are going to win out. And it's going to be awesome football. But we're going to mourn for what we had. And yeah, I don't know. Very, very grim stuff. Oh boy, what an uplifting return.
So are you guys saying that we're in the post-peak college football world now? Are we seeing the collapse?
Yeah,
in real time.
I mean,
go
ahead, Blake.
It won't fully collapse because people will still watch and they'll justify that.
Well,
but
yeah,
if you truly
we'll have a Vatican.
Like if you truly love the sport for like kind of watching 132 teams, whether they're big or small, duke it out on Saturdays, like that seems to be going by the wayside.
This is when we did a weekly postseason podcast. This would have been a really good entire podcast topic. What year was peak college football? When did it start to go downhill? Like what years? Because it wasn't last year. Last year we were already first.
No,
hell no.
Downhill.
I would even kick it 10 years back, maybe.
This might be OU bias, but I think it might be 07, 08-ish.
I was gonna say 07. 07 is probably, for me, that's my favorite college football season because that was the regular season at full effect.
Yes, it was like good.
Everyone was a monster back then.
Yeah, the talent was just spread around everywhere. Like, it was like teams all around the country were good, and that made it fun. And it didn't feel like the narratives were just so centered on one or two conferences and stuff like that. It just, it was before the narratives actually morphed into, look at all this crazy stuff happening on the field. Like, this is so wild to, in today's age, I couldn't imagine the discourse to come out of
Sports Center top 10. Like, there was a Heisman moment every week.
an 07-08 season would have been a nightmare in this playoff world. The conversation would have been insufferable. People wouldn't actually be enjoying these random upsets always happening and the number ones falling week after week. It would have been insufferable on Tuesdays if that happened.
My god. Yeah, we'd have entire conversations about, is Kansas making the playoff good for the sport, instead of this is so cool, look at Todd Reesing and Mangino, it's the best. It'd be we should still put Ohio State in or whoever in because that's gonna have more eyeballs.
God, could you imagine just the annoyingness of the Big 12 North, just Nebraska and Missouri and Kansas being we're just as good. You have Texas Tech was a monster. Texas with Colt McCoy, OU with Sam Bradford and DeMarco Murray.
Well, and all those debates in 08 would have been kaput because we'd be they're all in anyway. So
yeah, that's true for the 12-team playoff. Yeah, Blake, that would have been your thing. We would have had 6 Big 12 teams in the playoff.
Yep.
Well, although we would have had Utah in the playoff, they would have had a chance. That was a really good Utah team. TCU would have been in the mix a little bit, I think. I think they were good in 08.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the playoff personally. I just feel like it's the method of how we choose it and the conversation, the discourse about all of it that's the problem.
The BCS era was college football.
I messed that up. Big time. I was all in for the playoff. I was all into we are leaving teams out of the national championship. I messed up on that one. Hand up. This has opened a can of worms, a Pandora's box that I just can't seem to get rid of. That's on me.
We gave that damn mouse a cookie.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I think it's just the everything else of it all. That's been the problem. I think in its essence, a playoff would work. And should work. It's just when you're talking about the fringes and inviting in conversations about Alabama who lost to a bad OU team and Vandy, what are we doing here? But anyways,
this is just kind of a general question, but have y'all noticed, like, I don't know if this is a Gen Z thing, but why does
God,
nobody root for the underdogs anymore? I see no underdog. Like, people, like, I kind of, like, this is partly coming from the Thunder as well, but, like, back in my day, like, people used to love Cinderella, small markets, like, all these, like, cool stories of, like, random places or random people or athletes, like, really coming from nowhere and rising to the top. Now it seems like everybody's big brand. They do not want anybody else but their teams playing. Like, I remember the NBA way back in the day when it was Warriors Heat for like the or Warriors Cavs for like it felt like the 12th time, and people were like, I'm so sick of this, and now people are like clamoring for that. I don't get it. I do not get it. What happened to scrappy underdogs and like those being the cool sports stories, and now it's all about like, oh, woe to the like front runner big brands. It is just
this is coming from your Formula One fandom too.
yeah.
All the people are like, why isn't Ferrari and Mercedes winning everything anymore? I hate this sport. We've had
funny.
6 or 7 race winners. I hate this.
I don't understand it. Makes no sense to me. I
No,
personally
it's-
think parody's great. I'm a big parody guy.
You know what it is? It's because Gen X and millennials. Gen X is like the grunge rock, like I'm gonna be different, I'm gonna buck the system generation, and then millennials have this weird like hippie-ish thing, which we all are, and then I think just Gen Z and after is just like revolting from the older generations, and they're like, no, we love mega corporation, we love like corporate over like Jeff Bezos needs to decide, like we love our oligarchs.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Okay.
This last weekend was some awesome stories happened in college baseball, like Wright State upsetting Vandy and like UTSA knocking off the other like school in their system, like Texas. Like some cool stories that would have gotten like awesome Sports Center features about the second baseman that was like undiscovered and like they found him in like a parking lot somewhere and like now is like was able to like knock off the top dog, but instead like I open up Twitter and it's like SEC overrated, third sport in a row, and you're just like you can't even celebrate. Like I love some good piling on the SEC, like don't get me wrong, like I was leading the pack there, but like at least mix in some like this is awesome for like this small little school that they're having the time of their life, like this is the coolest moment that they'll get to experience probably in a lifetime. Like there's just none of that anymore. It's all you're either for the big brands or you're like you're revolutionary against it, and there's no just like smelling the flowers and actually enjoying it. It's just how does it fit in my overall narrative that I'm gonna push come like after this game.
I think there's a bigger overall problem with society, and it's that people don't like things anymore.
Oh my god.
Yes, I don't get it.
People
It's hate,
it's
and I
like
love to
not-
hate. I'm a hater. I'm a hater by nature. But damn, like you need a little yin and yang for the hate to stick. If we're all just sitting here, just mad at everything, it's never gonna land. It's never gonna be fun.
You have to have some sort of happiness, like outside of Schadenfreude. You can't all be like, I'm happy you lost.
It's those damn Avengers movies. They're too used to the good guy always winning for sure, and they hate it. They can't stand it when someone else wins besides their, why isn't Spider-Man, whatever his name is, winning?
Just
The
nasty
actor-
narratives.
the
It's
actor
just
who plays Spider-Man.
So, speaking of narratives, and this is a hard pivot here. Look, we haven't talked about OU football on this podcast in months,
Yeah, 'cause
and we got to close this thing out round the corner here. Jimmy, who I really appreciate popping on the show, asks, "Do y'all think the Sooners can make the playoff?" And look, I'm glad he asked this because part of what we were going to say is bring up the hype train. I feel like nationally, a lot of people have been propping the Sooners up, have been very big on OU. This is, the case with, folks at On 3. This is, they've become the darling before a snap has even happened with the addition of John Mateer, Jaden Knott, the total revamp of the offense. I don't know. I'm going to ask Blake this first, Ty, just because I want to hear the outside perspective. Is the hype train... is it runaway? Are we too excited about the Sooners? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think it's runaway per se, because I definitely think like the additions in the offseason have given OU a higher ceiling. The thing, and I'm probably higher. I would probably take them over on their win total. I don't know what their win total is, but I'd probably take that over. The thing I am worried about is you
Six
have
and a
basic
half.
6.5. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna take that over, for sure. But the thing that I worry about is I'm not saying John Mateer is bad. I'm not saying Jay Knott's bad. Like I think they're very good college football players, but a lot is riding on them, like to basically save this coaching staff. Like if it goes bad this year, if it goes south, kind of like what we saw last year, most likely everybody's gone. And so John Mateer being a guy like he was a great quarterback at Washington State. How does that translate over to the SEC? Jaden Ott, a guy that's great when he's playing, but has had a lot of injury issues. It felt like last year that he was having to play through a lot of stuff. He was having to rest. He was having to sit out. Like that's why when he transferred, I think Ty looked up his numbers, and it's like, why is everybody getting excited about this guy? It's like, well, he kind of played probably 4 or 5 games last year. Every time he played, he was putting the team on his back. But I wouldn't say just like because I'm not going to be doom and gloom about this team, but it is a storyline that there is a lot of pressure on these new additions in a league that I think is going to be very tough. Not I say like top loaded in a sense where it's like there's 3 or 4 teams that are run away. I just think everybody at the top is going to be pretty good this year. It's just a lot of do or die seasons in the SEC. And so how does these new additions react to having to basically save this coaching staff? That will be interesting to see.
And I think that is, without a doubt, like, I mean, that's everything. It's everything. Yeah. I'm optimistic. I feel like I've been burnt so many times before that I'm afraid to put my hand back on the stove. But on paper, everything looks just incredible. Ty, what are your thoughts on everything?
Yeah, so Blake, to turn it back to the win total thing, 6.5. I want to give you a quick refresher on OU's 2025 schedule for the listeners as well, because I'm sure you don't know off the top of your head. So we open the season against Illinois State Redbirds in Norman.
Perfect.
The next week, we have Michigan coming to Norman.
I think OU can win that.
They can, yeah. No,
yeah, because Bryce Underwood, he's a freshman starting in the biggest game, one of the biggest games right off the bat.
So
yeah,
we go to Temple.
Crazy.
Yeah, you're
which
fine.
Is apparently in Philadelphia.
It's wild that y'all are doing a home and home with Temple. That is so. I don't know why it's hilarious to me.
It's a 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1.
Oh, it's 2 for 1. Back. But even then, I would just be taking my 2 and not giving the 1. What the hell? Your job is to collect that check and get your.
We're engaging the East Coast fans, Blake.
Yeah.
All those Northeast recruits that are famous. That all the.
This is not for the recruits. It's for the fans, man.
Yeah. So then we play Auburn at home. We have a bye week. We play Kent State at home, but then we go into Red River. We go to South Carolina, a game that I remind you was not so easy for OU last year. Ole Miss then comes to Norman. We have to go to Tennessee. We have a bye week. So we go to Tennessee, we have a bye week, and then we go to Alabama.
Oh, Jesus.
And then we have Missouri at home. We have LSU at home. And then we have, for some reason, put the SEC championship on our schedule. I'm not sure if that's something that everyone does or a horrific jinx.
It's something everyone does. And it's weird to think that the Sooners have a better, and the Thunder, both have a better chance. The Oklahoma Sooners and the Oklahoma City Thunder both have a better chance of going to the SEC the college football playoff than OU does the SEC championship.
That schedule is brutal in the sense of there's not a game in there that I say OU's a automatic loss, which is a great improvement from last year. Last year I felt good about circling some where it's nope, you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose this. This feels like it's the team's in a better spot because I don't see a game that OU's outright just for sure gonna lose, but that's a brutal stretch. Just all good teams, not elite teams, but all just really, really good teams.
Here's a question though. Has there been a period in our lifetimes where people have been negative about OU in an off season?
Wow, that's a good question.
Think it's ever occurred. Because every bad season has been like one-off, like pretty immediate recovery back to 10 wins, competing for conference championship.
I'm trying to remember how we felt after that first Dylan Gabriel year. I feel like we were still pretty positive.
People were not negative. No one was going into that next year going, we're going to have a losing season.
And even last year, which I felt like maybe had a little bit of, but it wasn't negativity. It was just more new league, but there's a lot of excitement.
We were coming off of a 10-win season. Was it 9 or 10 wins?
It was
in 23.
I think it might have been 10 wins. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we were coming off of
because did y'all win your bowl game?
Might have been 9. No, we lost our bowl game, so it was 9 wins.
9 wins.
9-3. Yeah, 9-3. Because they lost to Kansas, OSU, and Arizona. But like, yeah, and I think that's the thing. That's a very good point. And I think if there wasn't so much restructuring, people would be fully in on the Doom. We just lost to Navy.
OU has done a great job of just like, whether this works out or not, they reshuffled the cards enough that it like gives you points where they're unknowns, but stuff that you can actually get excited about. It's like,
which is good. Yeah.
Yes, it's like, I feel like if you came into this season rolling in with Michael Hawkins like as your quarterback, like nothing wrong with him, like he could be good like at the end of the day, but like I think there would be a lot more gloom just because with the times we saw him were not very good. Like they just weren't. And so you got a lot of key unknowns in some of the best spots, which could lead to the best results, but it can also lead to the most heartbreak that when you look back on the season, you're like, man, Mateer was really just a G5 quarterback that just was a G5 quarterback. It wasn't right for the SEC. Jaden Knott was just kind of a guy that was always injured. Like there could be times like that where the revisionist history seems super, super clear, but yeah, like I just think there's enough unknowns, enough with the offensive play calling. Brent is, correct me if I'm wrong, going back to defensive play. Like he's gonna be like the full time, which I never think is a good thing. Like when the coach is taking play calling duties over, like never feels like it works. But for some reason, I feel like this one makes a lot of sense just because of like how much I respected him as a defensive coordinator. So we shall see. Like we shall see. It might be more like this. Brent can never be a full head coaching type, that he always needs to kind of be rooted in the actual play calling and stuff like that, and they just hope that good organization chemistry and other things, like they don't need like a CEO type at the top. It's just more feels like two coordinators running the show. But I think there's a lot for OU to be excited about this year.
So yeah, let me give you my actual answer then, because I kind of went long on stuff. But like Jimmy said in the comments, he's been saying 9-3. To the question, can OU make the playoffs next year? I think with the structure for the playoffs next year, there absolutely is a path for a 9-3 Oklahoma team. That is very dependent on other people's schedules and how they pan out. But Michigan on our schedule does a whole lot if OU wins that game, and then you get some weirdness in the Big Ten. If OU wins that one and then Michigan becomes pretty good in the Big Ten. I mean, they're going to be pretty good in the Big Ten. If OU wins that one, right, Michigan wins the game and beats, I don't know if they play Penn State this year or something. Like, Michigan can help us a whole lot if we beat them. Like, it's, say we drop a game at Tennessee, we drop the game at Alabama, and then one random one at, maybe we dropped Texas. Texas is also in the playoff. You can argue, like, neutral site. You have to avoid that Bama, like, losing to the bad teams thing. Yeah. But with 4, if we're talking about a bunch of auto bids, it's a long shot. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I could see a path. I don't think I see a 10-2 OU team, but I can see a weird situation where a 9-3 OU team makes it into the playoff. Do I think we're going to have 9 wins? I don't know, but if you want to talk about a 9-3 OU team, there is 100% there's a path there, and it has nothing to do with OU. It's anyone with that schedule. Weirdness can always happen.
It's the toughest schedule in college football history, or one of the toughest for sure. And a 9-3 OU team, you're essentially assuming that OU beats, the 3 teams you should beat in terms of, Temple, Kent State, Illinois State.
I will say will beat.
They will beat those 3.
That we should beat.
They will beat those 3. You're assuming that OU beats Auburn. You're assuming that OU beats Missouri. So that's 5. So that means that essentially you have to you have to only take 3 losses against the entirety of Michigan, Texas, at Tennessee, at Alabama, at South
South
Carolina,
Carolina.
LSU at home, Ole Miss at home. And I feel like that's like that any combination of wins out of that, like that gets you to those 3, I feel like is good enough.
Yeah.
Depending on like,
We
does Ole Miss fall off of a cliff? Maybe. They very well might. They're rebuilding, but I think to me, like, you know, let's just say they lose all 3 home games. That means you beat Texas, a very highly regarded Texas. It means you beat Michigan and LSU at home, or you won one of those tough road games. So to me, I think 9-3 is good enough to get you in the playoff. I think it's possible. That's like best case scenario. I think that's if
Yeah.
Jaden Ott is as great as he was at Cal. Matt in the comments is big on Jaden Ott. I love Jaden Ott as well. Like the whole Ott to go thing. If you remember from weekend spread last year, I was all about that. He was like one of my favorite. He's my favorite not OU player. I loved it. I'm just thrilled that he's a Sooner. I love that. And I don't know. I'm not quite ready to put my hand on the hot stove yet, but I'm feeling good about the Sooners. That's all I'm gonna say. And we'll do some more, obviously, some more previewing of the 2025 Sooners, how we feel about that as we get closer to kickoff. We're only some like 87 days away from
Yeah.
kickoff, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
I already got 2 preview mags. That's how it shows
Whew.
where we are close. We are really, really close.
Well, and it's even closer for week 0, which is going to be great with Farmageddon. Getting
Yes.
Iowa State, K-State right off the bat. Ty, how like, that's going to be great. And speaking of the whole Ireland thing, Blake, are you excited about the whole TCU UNC? Not this year, but the year after.
I am pumped, and I seem to be like the only TCU fan that is actually excited about it. I don't get it. I do not. This maybe goes back into everybody just being a hater now, but people are so mad that we like lost a home game to go to a game in Ireland. Like I understand, like say like it was the Ohio State situation, like back when I was like closer to college, where it was like supposed to be a home and home, then it got moved to like a one-off in Jerry's World. Like that sucks. It's like it's a stadium close to you, but not like it's just soulless, lifeless, yada yada yada. But this is cool. Like going to watch your team on an international trip in a cool destination, like that should be like as long as it's not happening every year, that sounds awesome. Like that's a once in a lifetime thing that you get to go do. That it's you get to take like your tailgate, your fandom, go overseas, like do something completely different that not many other fan bases do. I don't see how that's just not a cool thing. And so many fans, so many TCU fans are pissed that we are having to go do this game, but I love it. Like it's a cool, like beyond just the coolness of it, it's always good for your school, especially one of the smaller ones, to be standalone games that everybody in the world is watching. Like that is what that Ireland game has been, because it is the first taste of football, of real football for anybody in America. Like that is a good thing to be on. So I don't get it. I'm pumped. I already have like I not making arrangements, but I've already circled the calendar. Like I'm for sure gonna be there, unless something like super serious happens. But like I'm there. Like I want to go see it. I think that's gonna be just a badass like cool experience.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's so cool that I'm like, you know what, might hop over there and support the Frogs. I don't know.
Yeah.
A pint of Guinness into a college football game like in Ireland would be unreal.
Just
Would be
insane.
unreal.
Like that's just so cool that like
so
you
cool.
actually get to do that. Like it's not like we're now playing half of our home games in Ireland and it's like we never get to see our team play. It's one game at the beginning of the year. Like just chill. Like it's chill. Like even if there's some cool destinations in the US that like if we put it, like I wouldn't be too mad. Like I love going on a little road trip, a weekend trip to go visit cool areas of the country and like go watch my team play. Like I love David G. Carter, but like it's cool to see other venues and stuff like
yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
that's part of the culture. It's part of the cool part of the sport.
I'm a man that once drove to Ames, Iowa to watch the Sooners play. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's fun to see different venues, different cultures, traditions. Going to Tennessee, by the way, that's going to be a trip.
they'll let you in they'll let you in Knoxville
Maybe.
after last year.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
They might need him to play quarterback.
Well, good news, Blake. I'm in the OU section, so I'll be safe and sound.
Oh,
Ty, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I actually have a question for Blake. I was curious. You said one of the reasons for the Ireland game being good for a brand like TCU was the viewership that it gets for like the brand, right?
Yeah.
Can we run the transcripts for about 40 minutes ago when Blake was arguing pretty passionately that viewership did not matter and should not be counted?
But it's good we need it for recruiting purposes. We need visibility. Like we are not one of the schools that everybody knows and recognizes, and we're most known for being like getting blown out in the national championship. Like that is the reputation we are dealing with right now, and then followed it up like the next game after that happening being the team that lost to Dion that like caused that storm. So I want some potential standalone windows to like maybe help with some good press. Please do not beat Bill Belichick, please.
Postseason blowouts, religious affiliated school. Oh God, what was the other one I was gonna say?
Are you gonna say we're like Notre Dame, basically?
Just purple Notre Dame was gonna be on fine. There was a third point. There was a third point in there that I've now forgotten. Dang it! But yeah, you guys are just becoming purple Notre Dame.
That's funny. Purple non-denominational Notre Dame.
Plays in Ireland.
Plays in Ireland. That was the most obvious one. They're literally called the Irish.
Affiliation with Ireland.
That's funny. That's funny.
Postseason blowouts, religious affiliated school. You guys are purple Notre Dame.
Oh, goodness.
I will say the only thing that we really, I think, just totally fumbled. Like, I think a break was nice for the Schooner Pod. Like, gets the excitement back. Everybody gets a break. The thing we did fumble was the Bill Belichick stuff. We needed an emergency pod to discuss that. That week was just wild. I've never seen anything like it in our sport. Like, the closest thing I feel like we've seen of, like, scandal of that intrigue is maybe, like, a Bobby Petrino type situation. But, like, that, like, this just tops it. Like, this is insane. The coach that's known for do your job, no off-field distractions, like, nobody's bigger than the team, this has just become completely sideways. Like, there was graphics being made that his buyout dropped, like, 3 days ago, because, like, he made it past, like, it goes from 10 million to 1 million now, just because, like, we don't even know if he's gonna coach the first game.
That was a wild week. Pablo Torre did a great job with that, by the way.
Fantastic.
Oh my God, so good. Definitely
I'm telling you guys right now. Blake is laughing now because he thinks that this is a good thing for the sport. This is a good thing for OU. This is not a good thing for you because this is just setting up for OU to put up a 3-win season. And college football fans are going to be used to all these distractions and behavior from coaches, thanks to Coach Prime and Bill Belichick. And Urban Meyer's coming home next year.
Oh, no.
Urban Meyer's coming home to Norman next year. And college football better be ready.
Well,
my words.
Out of all the dour, depressing things we've talked about on this podcast, that might be the the worst thing I've heard so far. God. Could you? We don't need Urban Meyer posting up at O'Connell's like with the co-eds.
You want to win?
Urban Meyer would be at Logie's the entire the entire semester. It'd be a disaster.
Maybe the team would be afraid to go there, and they would actually be in their dorms asleep before the games. Okay,
that's funny. That's funny.
Or not getting beat up by 5'1" wrestlers who aren't even on the wrestler team in the bathroom.
Just high school wrestler guys. Yeah. Again, always a tip for y'all. If you see that cauliflower ear, turn the other way. But anyways, guys, that's all we have for today. It was genuinely so good to be back with y'all. Good to get the old Schooner Pod rolling again. Talking with all y'all. This was fun. I don't know. I needed this. I feel rejuvenated after the little break and everything. And once the NBA season ends, I'm gonna be fired up and ready to get the 2025 season previews and all that going. So looking forward to that. And for all of y'all who are back watching and listening with us, thank you so much for your patience, for sticking with us, for still being here. We'll make sure to make it worth your while here in a bit. But it's NBA Finals week. The Oklahoma City Thunder, about to embark on an awesome journey here. And you can follow that if you're a Thunder fan on Morning Thunder. My new-ish Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. It's in the link in the bio, in the description. Check it out there. Subscribe. It's a fun one. A little bit more shorter, free-flowing content. Or not free-flowing. This is way more free-flowing. We talked about Belichick here, but
Jordan.
But make sure to check that out. It's been really fun. So it's been fun to add that into sort of this portfolio of podcasts and everything. But guys, before I let y'all go, predictions for the NBA Finals.
Thunder in 4.
Woo! There we go, Blake.
It has to be. I want it so bad.
I love
You don't
it. Ty?
think that the ESPN overlords are going to fix some games to make it go to at least 6?
That's what, like, this Thunder team has been pissing off some of the people at ESPN, which has made me very happy. So that's why I'm hoping that just, like, the power of friendship that we got overcomes, like, whatever demonic crap that is coming from that organization, from Doris Burke's mouth. Talk about another puppet out there, just absolute, just an absolute puppet, just spewing. I need to stop because
Ty, who do you got?
I'm going to say it.
That's what sucks. You
grand
can't,
opening, grand closing.
I'll just say you can't criticize Doris Burke, and that kind of sucks. Like, nobody can go out and just, like, say how they really feel.
I feel like she is an absolute legend, and she said some stuff that was beneath her.
Legend? What? No!
Ty, what's your pick? What's your pick?
Thunder and 4. Thunder
You
and
don't
4.
have to do Thunder and 4.
No, I do. But I do want to say I did want it to be the Knicks. I wanted Timothy Chalamet to experience Paycom Center.
We needed Timothy Chalamet walking the streets of OKC. I think he would have found it endearing. And I don't know. All of the pieces we would have had about where does Timothy Chalamet need to go, like send Timothy to the Jones Assembly, or
where is Kylie Jenner going to stay?
Can we convince Timothy Chalamet to take Kylie Jenner to Skinny Slims? Like that sort of thing. We needed all of that.
What would they order at Fassler Hall?
That's funny. But all right, yeah, this is all. That's all we got for today. Again, check out Morning Thunder in the description for more Thunder content. We'll be back to talk some Oklahoma Sooners, college football as we build up here in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But again, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Until then, have a great one. Boomer Sooner, everybody, and Thunder up.